Good evening. Under Keir Starmer, Britain is irrelevant. He is such a weak man. Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed terrorist group in Lebanon, has attacked a British military base in Cyprus. And what was Sir Keir Starmer's response? Oh, we want de-escalation. Well, it's shocking, isn't it, really? They've attacked us and he just wants to de-escalate. Starmer's doing what he always does. He's sitting on the fence.
To be clear, the use of British bases is limited to the agreed defensive purposes. We are not joining the US and Israeli offensive strikes. The basis for our decision is the collective self-defence of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives. It is in accordance with international law, and we've produced a summary of our legal advice which clearly sets this out. We will keep the decision under review.
An Islamist regime appears to have just attacked British military bases, and the only thing Starmer cares about is international law. I mean, have you noticed how Starmer keeps telling everyone that Britain played no role in the killing of the Ayatollah?
The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes. But we have long been clear. The regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent. They have murdered thousands of their own people, brutally crushed dissent, and sought to destabilise the region.
Starmer's response tells you everything you need to know. Most people would be desperate to slot the Ayatollah. You'd be boasting about it the whole time, wouldn't you? You know, you'd be taking credit for it even if you hadn't done it. They'd be like going, oh, we helped kill the Ayatollah. Starmer, he's just worried he'll lose votes. I mean, the Americans aren't happy with him. President Trump told The Telegraph that he's, quote, very disappointed in Starmer. He said it took too long for Starmer to change his mind about letting the US use British bases. He added, that's probably never happened between our countries before. It sounds like he was worried about the legality. This is it. All the time with this guy, isn't it? Here is the state of play as it stands right now. Iran is still attacking the Gulf states. Hezbollah in Lebanon have joined in too.
Yes, as mense kyk hoe val die bomme hier om ons. Dis groot moeilikheid.
They've attacked those British military base in Cyprus. 3 US planes were accidentally shot down by Kuwait's air defence system.
You're fine? Really? You need something to help you? No problem, you're safe. You're safe. Everything good?
And Israel is bombing the living daylights out of Iran again this evening. But it looks like the situation is getting even more intense. And here to tell us all about that is GB News' national reporter, Charlie Peters. And Charlie, I believe you've got a development for us.
Yes, Patrick, there's been a flurry of announcements from the US government in the last hour. We heard at just closing on 9 o'clock from US Central Command that now 6 US service personnel had died since the start of the US-Israeli strikes on Iran on Saturday morning. But we've now had a fresh update from the US State Department for US civilians calling on Americans to immediately depart from more than a dozen countries in the Middle East amid those ongoing military actions. They have urged Americans to use commercial means to depart from those countries on your screen. That's Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, and the Palestinian territories, the West Bank and Gaza, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the UAE, and Yemen. And that's come in from Maura Namdar, the State Department's Assistant Secretary for Consular Affairs. We've not had update to the travel guidance for British nationals following that statement from the US State Department. Elsewhere, Patrick, there has also been a flurry of military activity in the region. Now, following that US State Department announcement, we've also heard the sirens going off at the US Embassy in Amman, that's the capital of Jordan, urging people nearby to take cover. Let's take a listen to that. Elsewhere, we also heard from the IDF urging an evacuation order in Tehran, the capital of Iran. We have also now seen that they have struck the old parliament building in central Tehran, and Iranian media has said that there have been 2 explosions around the IRIB state broadcast. We can bring you now some footage of that strike in Tehran. The IDF has said that a short while ago, the Israeli Air Force struck and dismantled the Iranian terrorist regime's communication centre. Let's listen to that strike. A major strike there, and the centre was also recently used by the Iranian regime's forces, the IDF says, to advance military activities under the guise of civilian activity. They said that those activities taking place at the centre were carried out and directed by the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, of course, the central defence mechanism for the Iranian regime. Elsewhere, Patrick, and finally, the Strait of Hormuz, a key update for those sitting and watching at home tonight, because that's going to affect the oil prices when they go to fill up their cars even as early as tomorrow, because that is now fully closed, according to IRGC state media reports. Ibrahim Jabari, a senior advisor to the Commander-in-Chief of the IRGC, has said that if anyone tries to pass, the Revolutionary Guard and the regular Navy will set those ships ablaze. Now, the US has been keen to stress that it has destroyed 11 Iranian Navy ships since the start of combat operations. However, it is the thousands of one-way attack drones that have menaced the commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz and through the Gulf of Oman, and the small attack boats that will cause a major difference and threaten those commercial ships. So the very latest, Patrick, the fighting goes on and Americans have been urged to flee the region through commercial means.
Absolutely, Charlie. Thank you very, very much. Charlie Peters there. He'll be back with us for any more breaking news developments. Let's bring my panel in now. And Carol, I'll start with you. Well, what do you make of Sir Keir Starmer's reaction to this so far, then, the way he's gone about it?
You know, he has... Thanks to him, Britain is now an irrelevance on the world stage. We can no longer be taken as a serious military power now. He is sitting unnoticed on the sidelines. He's so irrelevant to the President of the United States now that Trump didn't even let him know these attacks were going to happen. He didn't know about them. That's how irrelevant he is. And that relationship now is weakened even further because Trump came out today in the midst of all this to say how terribly disappointed he is with Keir Starmer. He wanted access to those bases sooner. And that's all Starmer had to do. No one was asking him to get involved in the war. No one was asking him to put skin in the game or boots on the ground, just to open up those military bases so that Trump and Israel could do the heavy lifting. And he was too scared to do even that. He ran to his Attorney General, Lord Hermer, to find some kind of law, some kind of information that would stop Britain having to get involved. This is not what a leader does. Can you imagine if someone like Mrs. Thatcher had been in power? Would she have hesitated for a second to make those bases available? No, she would not. She would have gone in there. So he's an embarrassment to this country now. What he's done today, what he's done over the weekend, has weakened him hugely. He looks like a coward. He looks gutless. He looks like a man who shouldn't be in charge of a country.
I think it's one thing that really stands out to me, Jake, is how at every opportunity Starmer is proud of the idea we had no role to play in the bombing campaign or in the death of the Ayatollah. I mean, he's speaking to his international law mates there, isn't he? I mean, he's just terrified of finding himself in court, I think, of something.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing about international law is a bit of a fantasy anyway. The two major international courts that enforce this sort of thing, the USA, one of them actually isn't. One of the courts it isn't a member of, the other one it doesn't recognise the judgments. Sort of finding yourself bound by these international courts, I think in this case is a sign of weakness. It's the same weakness that saw us volunteer, in fact pay to give the Chagos Islands away. Thank goodness Donald Trump seems to have intervened in that. I'm guessing after the use of these Diego Garcia bases for the war against Iran, hopefully that may be permanently paused. this isn't a time to sort of reach and sort of clutch for bits of paper as a justification for not being involved. British sovereign territory is being attacked by these kill drones. What does it say to our enemies around the world? What does it say to Putin? What does it say to Xi in China that we have a Prime Minister who's not saying, scramble some jets, get them into the air, let's retaliate, we must defend British sovereign soil? In fact, he's saying, I've got a piece of paper here, sort of, peace in our time, a piece of paper that exempts me from getting involved in this conflict. It's wrong. It's actually not very British. And I just think it's damaging us massively on the world stage.
I mean, you saw the Minister for War there, Peter Hegseth, saying that some of America's traditional allies were clutching their pearls and hand-wringing and not basically backing them. Trump's obviously come out and said he's quite disappointed with Starmer and with Britain. What do you make of Keir Starmer's reaction so far?
Well, it's strange because I come on programmes like this quite a lot and talk about how important it is that we are seen positively on the world stage, and all the response I ever get is, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what happens domestically. And now we're through the looking glass tonight because suddenly the most important thing is how we're seen on the world stage. Look, I think we've walked into a world under President Trump where it's possible, indeed desirable, to do whatever you like, no rules. And the reality is we live in a rules-based order. I quite like to maintain that. And so rather than reaching for the weaponry, maybe let's do the most basic form of analysis first, work out what our position is, and then look at going in.
You have to know that for decades, various countries have been in negotiations with Iran. They have had these meetings, they have had these talks, and all Iran does is string them along. It has no intention of actually capitulating to the West. It has no intention of taking notice of the West that doesn't want them to have nuclear weapons. They want to destroy the West. The Ayatollah actually made that perfectly clear. If you're not a Muslim, you shouldn't exist. They've made that clear.
I'm well aware of that.
This is a murderous regime.
I'm well aware
you're
of
like
that.
Starmer. You say it's utterly abhorrent regime. It's a terrible regime, but you're not prepared to do anything about it. You can't just sit back and
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we should take a moment, assess the situation, have a look at the legalities, and then look at whether we want to get involved.
We've had the 45 years that the Ayatollah has been in power to assess.
But I'm talking about this specific situation, not the last 45 years.
Do you not think it would have been a better reaction for our Prime Minister to scramble some Typhoon jets from Cyprus to fly over to the Hezbollah positions and bomb those positions and say, if you send attack drones, kill drones to kill British service personnel, we will project our force into your position and kill you. That is what Britain should be doing. This idea, it's like appeasement of Nazi Germany.
Completely.
It's this idea that we're going to sit back. We're going to sit back. We're going to sit back, allow people to attack us, allow people to attack our allies, and just sort of say, well, the real world.
An eye for an eye, is that the approach?
I've told you exactly what I think you should do. If there is an attack on British sovereign territory, as there has been,
is it sovereign territory, though?
Of course it is. That's why they're called sovereign bases. Do you not understand?
Right.
Yeah, someone who sits here saying we've got to stick by international law, you seem to know very little about it. And the other point about the international rules-based order that you refer to, it has completely collapsed. The United Nations is useless. As long as the 5 permanent security council members have the right to
we like. We kill who we want. Is that what you're suggesting?
What I'm suggesting.
Do we dismantle the international courts? Do we leave the UN? Or do we respect these institutions? Because
I would be delighted if Britain left the UN.
There is a semblance of civility.
I'd be delighted if Britain left the UN.
You're talking over me constantly.
The United Nations is completely useless because you have 5 permanent security members, all of whom veto according to their own...
So do you support any form of international law?
I'm just saying that the current international law we have has failed.
And the idea support that any form of international law?
There is no such thing as international law. You have nations and you have the nation state. There is no such thing as international law. These international laws you're talking about, the most powerful countries in the world don't even subscribe to them. We are just irrelevant. We're sat on the sidelines.
And that's a problem.
Saying we're clutching our pearls, as Hegseth said, we're clutching our pearls, going, oh no,
and so because America does something, we should do it too. If the big boy jumped off the cliff, would you follow him?
Britain has been attacked. Sovereign territory has been attacked.
I understand
and our Prime
that.
Minister
And we are
is suggesting...
allowing our bases to be used. We are
allowing our
involved in this
bases to use.
conflict.
I'm saying we should have RAF jets in the air bombing Hezbollah. Britain has been attacked, and we have a Prime Minister who's sitting back saying, well, let's hope it de-escalates.
Well, look, we can break
that
down
is
Tehran
not what
whoever you
Britain is
want.
about.
But tell you what Britain is about. It's following the rules. It's about knowing where you stand before
that's
you
what
go
the Prime
off.
Minister's
You're
about.
more
We need a
interested
leader,
in the
not a
fine
lawyer.
print of international law than you are about what Iran
I just
was
find it
and what it was doing.
absolutely stunning that we're all saying the law doesn't matter anymore.
No, he's not
What
saying
kind of
that- he's
British
not saying
attitude
it
is
doesn't
that?
matter.
That's completely
But all
unpatriotic.
Starmer is
It's
doing
completely
is
un-British.
concentrating on the finer print of international...
It's not the finer print.
without
It's just
looking-
knowing what you're doing is
without
legal
looking
before you
at
do
the
it.
bigger picture.
You don't break the law. I don't break the
he's a
law. Jake doesn't
coward.
break the law. The Prime Minister shouldn't either.
He's a political coward. He is not a leader.
He is just a coward.
He does not know what to do, so he does nothing. Imagine if no one in the world did anything.
Hides behind a barrister's wig.
Yes,
I've lived through COVID. I've seen that one.
OK, all right, OK.